I'm going to talk fast, but I have some free tools for you guys to get access to. And then I got some other stuff that we'll talk about at the end, because I'm real big on, everybody wants to be an influencer. And it's great to influence me and inspire me, but then give me the tools or the roadmap to go accomplish and do the things that you've done. And that's what I'm going to give you guys today. So like I said earlier, we've grown a considerable portfolio. We're now buying apartment complexes all over the nation. We just closed a $45 million apartment complex on Monday in Dallas, Texas. My wife and I also do development. And so we're just doing it all, man. I'm passionate about real estate. I actually got paralyzed on Monday Night Football with my NFL injury, but through faith in God and physical therapy and neck surgeries, as you can see, I can move around and do normal stuff. So you wouldn't know it if you met me in person.
Gosh.
But
I did not know that.
Yeah. So, but God is good.
That's amazing.
So here's what I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about underprivileged kids. I'm passionate about helping athletes transition, and I'm passionate about realtors understanding financial literacy. If you were at Bill Conference, you probably heard me speak, but we don't get the credit we deserve. And we also got to be thinking about the future. We can't sell real estate forever. So here's why agents need to invest in their financial literacy. So there's a couple key words that you might just overlook and think it's just a title. One is a need. We need this. 2, invest. Anytime you invest in something, that means you care about it, you put time into it, you put resources towards it. And so you guys got to know you will never sell enough real estate to create financial freedom. Even if you're one of the top producers, like I said, I've brokered 1.2 billion in 8 years. But if I just keep selling and I'm not taking that cash or taking my cash and doing something with it, it doesn't mean anything. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to hit some topics pretty quick, and then we'll do Q&A at the end. We're good? So according to the IRS, most millionaires have 7 of these income streams. These are just how it's set out through the IRS. We're going to talk about a couple today. But, it used to be 401ks and really getting in a sales position to get a lot of cash. And one day you'll just retire. But that's not how it works. Like, you actually got to create these multiple income streams. You got to put your money to work. And obviously with the current landscape, everything I've been telling the people in my organizations is now happening with inflation and everything. So here are the 7 income streams: dividend income from stocks owned, earned income from paychecks, rents from rental real estate or commercial or whatever, royalties from selling rights of something that you've either written or invented. So obviously you get royalty fees, capital gains from selling appreciated assets, profits from a business that you own, and then obviously interest from savings, CDs, bonds, and other lending activities. So what I want to talk to you guys about is number 3 and number 6. So before we get into that, here's some topics that I want you to digest, because at the end, I'm going to give you my podcast, which you can listen to for free. There's some other stuff I'm going to give you guys, but I want you to start doing the research. And so DYOR means do your own research. So no different than if Gogo and I sat down and had a conversation about, let's just say she was an engineer. If I haven't done any research on what it means to understand the load calculations and the foundations and all the engineering conversations and the topics, and then I wouldn't be able to get everything out of that conversation from her that I needed. So it's tough for me to mentor someone or tell you something unless you have some basis of thought or knowledge or research. So if you don't have the knowledge yet, you can at least start doing the research, and you owe it to yourself, your future self, your kids. We got to be thinking legacy, guys. We got to be the ones that, for me, I'm breaking generational curses. I want to be at a place where I'm leaving things behind for my kids and not just debts. So to strengthen your knowledge in this financial literacy space, here's 5 topics. OPM, which is other people's money. That means other people. We'll talk about that in a second. Number 2 is leverage. You need to be thinking about leverage. And I'll talk about that in a sec. And then velocity of money. This is a topic that you can Google, you can look up on YouTube. And then you got to be careful who you're listening to, because there's a lot of people out there doing the talking, but they're not actually. You want to find someone who speaks to you that you can actually say, okay, this person actually has the success. Because, here's the hard part about social media. We're all competing against someone's highlight reel. They're only showing you the best parts of their day, their week, their month, but they're not telling you and showing you the full story. So just make sure you're careful. And then personal financial statement. I said this at Bill, and I'm saying it now. If you're on this call right now, there's 50 to 55 people on this call, and you do not have a personal financial statement built, you need to start on it tonight. Go get a Google sheet. And then there's templates that you can go online and look up and just take it. You need to know your assets, liabilities. And we know assets minus liabilities equals net worth. If I ask you this question, y'all will be able to have the answer, but there's a reason why when you think about the Jeff Bezos of the world, the Warren Buffetts, you never hear about their income. You never hear about their credit. What do you hear about? Their net worth. So if that's what the billionaires are tracking, the multimillionaires are tracking, then how do we ever think we're going to become a multimillionaire or billionaire if we're not tracking those same things? So this is where you'll be able to track your activities personally to say, okay, I sold 50 million in real estate this year, but my net worth actually went down. So what am I doing wrong? Right? So we need to be tracking that. And then number 5, multiple income streams. It used to be like, it sounded cool, but now it's a necessity. If we didn't learn anything through COVID, we need to have multiple income streams. We're going to talk about that. So OPM is other people's money. What it means is you can substantially increase your returns and secure even more assets by leveraging OPM, other people's money. I, for 17 years, never raised any money. I've just always bootstrapped my businesses, me and my wife. I wanted to create a track record that was so solid that when I came to you and said, hey, you should invest in this project, you never even thought twice about it because I got a 17-year track record with my own money. And so now I started raising money in Q4 of last year. I closed a $40 million apartment in Orlando, Florida, and then I just closed a $45 million deal in Dallas. I was only able to do that by bringing in other people's money to put it down and then obviously leverage through the bank. But just let's forget the 45 million. Let's just say a $1 million fourplex or package of houses. If you don't have the money yet, there's always 2 things that always find a real estate transaction. I want you guys to hear this out. If the deal is solid, money will find it as long as you bring the knowledge. So if you bring me a deal and say, Terrence, I got this deal. It's 5 houses. This is what they can lease for. I already know what it costs to put in new granite countertops, new appliances. I'm going to manage it. I'm going to lease it. I'm going to oversee the remodel. You're doing the work. So it's called sweat equity versus check equity. So you're doing the sweat and you have the knowledge, you have the pro forma drawn up, and you're telling me when I'm going to get my money back, what my return is going to be. Then yes, I'm going to say, hey, great. So you're going to leverage my money, OPM, to go do the deal because you're doing the sweat and everything, the management. So I hear people all the time say, well, I don't have enough liquid capital to invest. And really, that's just an excuse. And me being a pro athlete and me coming from very humble beginnings, I came to college with like $250 to my name. I slept on a dude's couch for like 2 months. And I just grinded because I don't believe in excuses. So if you have the knowledge and you're willing to, like, you can go get books. Like, there was a time I was buying books on Amazon, $4 books. I was paying more in shipping, but those books like changed my life. I read 40 books in 16 months, and I forced myself to get that information inside of me. And then I prayed about it, and I went out and I started making moves. So you can start somewhere. And if you haven't started investing and you're a realtor and you don't own a real estate investment property, you need to make that a goal in the next 12 to 24 months. Because you got to own what you're selling. One of the things I learned as before I got into real estate as a pro athlete is when you get drafted, everybody thinks we're like Tom Brady. Everybody doesn't make Tom Brady money. But so you get everybody throwing these deals at you, and it just kind of like makes you withdraw. Everybody wants you to invest in this. And that's why you guys have probably seen those documentaries about pro athletes going broke, because man, we get so much thrown at us. But here's the question that I learned at 22 years old to start asking people. I said, how much of your money do you have in that investment? And if that agent or that financial advisor or whoever was pitching me a deal didn't have their own money in the deal, then we stopped talking. So if we're going to be out selling property, selling real estate, we got to believe in what we're selling and we got to put our own money where our mouths are. So OPM, let's talk about leverage. This is just remember the 5 topics that I want you doing research on. Leverage is very important because you take an asset, you take an equity, and you take debt. This is a very simplified version of a thing called capital stack. So when you look at any real estate deal, you can go to New York, you can go to Miami, you can go to Cabo. It doesn't matter where you go. Someone owns that real estate. Literally go in North Carolina and go to Starbucks. I own those Starbucks in North Carolina. Like I own it. You're getting coffee from Starbucks, but I actually own the building. So every opportunity that we ride by, somebody owns that real estate. And there's a thing called capital stacking. So if you can just wrap your mind around, okay, I have an asset, I need equity. Either I put the equity up or I go raise the equity, and then I got to get debt because that's how I get a higher return. So in a very simplified version, if I go buy Starbucks, and you know how you see the commercial brokers have a deck or a pitch deck, and it says a 5 cap rate. So cap rates. If I buy it cash, then that means I'm making 5% on my money if I buy that Starbucks. But to get a higher return, so you guys may go pay $2.5 million for a Starbucks and pay cash. I'm going to go put down 20 to 30% and go get debt on the rest. I'm going to buy the same asset you bought at the same cap rate, but because I've leveraged it through debt, my return is going to be a lot higher than yours. So financial leverage is the use of debt to buy more assets. Leverage is employed to increase the return on equity. And so that's how when you start looking at these cap rates and you're looking at ROIs, return on investments, things like that, that's how you get a higher return through leverage. So let's just base this now on a $100,000 rental property. If I buy a $100,000 rental property, I know this is a simplified version of looking at it. Does it make sense for me to invest? Is if it's at 100 grand, I need to be at a 1% ratio. So if I buy a $100,000 rental house, I need to lease it for $1,000 a month at minimum. So then you just gas that up, right? So if I pay $1 million for an asset, my gross rent needs to be at what? $10,000 a month for me to even consider it. 1% ratios. And then when I start throwing in the debt, the maintenance, the vacancy, all that other stuff that we can talk about, it's a little more detailed. I'm just kind of giving you guys the overview. That's how you want to look at leverage. And so when you think about the books, like Robert Kiyosaki has a book called Why the Rich Get Richer, they understand good debt versus bad debt. Good debt versus bad debt is very important to understand because you can get bad debt. Bad debt is buying something that doesn't pay you. So if you buy a car, does the car pay you? Yes or no? No. So then is that good debt or bad debt? It's bad debt. If I buy a $100,000 rental house and I put down 20 grand and I get a note for 80,000 and I rent it for 1,500 a month, is that 80,000 good debt or bad debt? It's good debt because it pays me. So that's what you got to be thinking about. And that's why Robert Kiyosaki says why the rich get richer, because they understand how to leverage debt. And we think we can sell our way into financial freedom, or we can save our way into financial freedom. And I'll tell you why you can't. So velocity of money. It's another thing, man, when I really wrap my mind around this, my balance sheet started growing and I started tracking the wealthiest people in America. And I started figuring out what they were doing. And I was doing this at like 25 years old. And I said, okay, there's a reason why they're tracking these certain things. So it's not complicated, right? If I want to be a great receiver, I just look at the top receivers in college football or NFL. I start doing the moves they're doing, start studying whatever they're doing, and then I put my own sauce on it and become really good at it. So velocity of money it's the frequency in which one unit of currency is used to purchase domestically produced goods and services within a given time period. In other words, It's the number of times $1 is spent to buy goods and services per unit of time. Now you're probably like, what the hell is Terrence talking about? I'm telling you what, you can go get a degree from a great university. You can go to a great high school. You can even listen to some podcasts. People aren't going to teach you these things because a lot of people don't understand these concepts. And that's why I'm just pushing it in front of you, because I'm passionate about seeing you guys grow your net worth, become multimillionaires and billionaires one day. And when it happens, just shoot me a text on social media in 10 years or 5 years and give me a thumbs up that you did it. But as you start studying this, it's going to happen. So velocity money just means I have to keep that money moving. There's a velocity, there's a speed in which I use my cash to invest. You guys have heard of the Burr method. I don't have time to get into that today, but that's moving the cash into a deal. I'm buying it. I'm going to remodel it, refurbish it, however you want to call that R. I'm going to lease it. Then I refinance it, move that cash out, move it to another deal. That's velocity of money. That's an example of moving that money in speed. Now, you want to be careful, right? Because you want to keep your loan to value ratios right. But as long as you're managing that, I like to say 60-40 is a good balance. 70-30 is a good balance. Anything over that, you're kind of getting over your skis. But managing that and moving that money, because now I can take that money out of that deal and I can go buy something else with it. 2-3 years in, boom, 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 it's cash flow and somebody else paid down my debt, cash out, next deal. That's just an example. So on a $100,000 deal, the total purchase price on a $100,000 deal is $100,000. My 70-30, so LTV, loan to value. Then there's other income ratios, but let's just stay on LTV. If I put down 30%, it's 30,000. My note is 70 grand. So my loan to value is 70-30. Most people say 70-30, but if you want to reverse it for this conversation, it's 30-70. And that's the whole, I got debt of 70 grand. I have equity. Remember, I showed you guys earlier. Let me go back to it real quick. So LTV fits into this. Loan to value, which is leverage. My asset is 100 grand. My debt is 70. My equity is 30. So that's where you want to manage that. I usually wait for about 3 to 4 years. Some people try to do the Burr method where as soon as they get it leased, they turn right around in like 30, 60, 90 days and pull it back out. That's just, we all have different risk averse levels.
Yeah.
I'll let my tenants pay my debt down. So that 70 grand will end up being about 40,000 in that first 3 to 4 years. And then that's when I go pull out my 30 and move on to the next deal.
Got it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Here's the cool thing too. Think about it. This is why leverage is important. What other asset can you put a portion down and have 100% control over? Because like if you go buy Amazon stock right now, you're going to pay, if you buy 1,500 shares, you're going to pay for 1,500 shares and you have no control. So to be able to have a percentage that you put down and have 100% control over what happens, it's so valuable. So a couple more topics, and I know I'm talking fast. I'm trying to make sure I'm mindful of the time. Why savers will never win the money game. So I'm the first to tell you today, if you didn't know this, I'm gonna tell you. What I was taught growing up in a tough neighborhood is save. You know, put your money under the couch, put it in the bank. We got to remember that banks want your cash. That's why they're asking for you. Do you got any new deposits? Do you got any new deposits? But did y'all know that your cash on a bank's balance sheet is bad debt? Man, when I wrapped my mind around that, it blew my hat off. I'm like, what? So when I give you my cash, it's cash to me, but on your balance sheet, it's bad debt. So they have to go and loan that out. Well, you guys are gonna go give them your 20 grand, 100 grand, $1 million, and you're gonna make 1% on a money market or a CD at best. They're gonna turn around and loan out that $1 million 20 times over and over and over. And they're gonna call people like me and say, hey, when do you have your next development deal that you're buying? Great, what do you got? And that's what happens. So you can't win, and here's why: inflation. The US dollar's purchasing power since 1913, here it is went down and down and down. And there's billions and trillions of dollars being circulated. And then you guys saw how much money they printed in COVID. So when they print more of something, what happens to the value of it? It goes down. So you can't save, because remember, inflation last year was at 8.6%, between 8.6 to 9%. So think about it. If you put 100 grand after you worked your ass off last year selling houses in the bank for 12 months, that 100 grand was worth less by 8 to 10%. If you didn't make at least 8 to 10% on your money, you lost money last year on that 100 grand. And here's why it's so important to invest. You will never save and win the money game. It's like if we're playing Monopoly. You ever tried to play Monopoly and you never buy any real estate? You just say, I'm going to do where I go around, and when I go through, give me my $200 and I'm going to win that way. You can't. You have to start buying real estate. You have to start investing. So if you just try to play Monopoly and you just go in circles, you're going to end up landing on everybody else's real estate, and they're going to force you to pay them. That's what inflation does to your money if you're putting it in the bank. You can't save your way into financial freedom. All right, last couple of things, then we'll get to Q&A. Why should you be tracking and updating your financial statement? I already talked about it, but I'll just hit it real quick. The personal financial statement outlines an individual's assets and liabilities to reveal their net worth, and it also makes it easier for them to track their assets and worth over time. And soon, as you guys build a considerable balance sheet, and some of y'all may already be billionaires on here, I don't know. But if you are, then you know what I'm about to say is true. When you go to buy a business one day or buy a piece of real estate, they're not looking at your credit anymore. That's an afterthought. They're looking at your balance sheet, your financial statement, and then they're underwriting the asset. So when I'm buying these apartments, or I'm buying a commercial strip center with AT&T, Buffalo Wild Wings, Starbucks. So where some people have normal tenants, and a lot of my assets do, the assets I'm buying right now, my tenant is $1 billion company. It's Starbucks. So I know they're going to pay their rent. But what happens is that's being underwritten. And my financial statement is what I turn in. I turn in 2 years tax return, and I turn in my financial statement. And within a week, I got an approval to go buy a multi-million-dollar asset. They never run my credit. They're looking at my financial statement. Now, at the end, they do it just to check it off the list. See, we're running a credit deal on this just to put it in the file. Cool. So that's why you guys want to be tracking this, because you want to know what's making your net worth go up. You may buy one rental house and see that, man, now it's not only appreciated, my tenants paid down my debt from the example earlier from $70,000 to $40,000. Well, let's say the asset hasn't went up. Let's say it's still only worth 100 grand. You're bringing in about 1,500 a month in rent, but the tenants have paid down your debt from 70,000 to 40,000. Now, what's your net worth off that one asset? You have $60,000 of equity, not the 30 that you originally put in on the example that Gogo gave earlier. Now it's worth 60. And we know over time it's going to appreciate, but let's just say it hasn't in 5 years. Okay, it's still worth 100 grand. I'm still getting rent. Someone's paying down my debt. I'm cash flowing. It's a no-brainer. So this is just an example. I mean, it's really dumbed down, obviously. At this point, I have like a 10-page financial statement, but it's just a way for you to see, okay, what are my assets? I have savings, I have checking, RA, house, my mortgage, car, whatever. So y'all get the point. And then just really tracking it.
So my big concern with investing, right, especially starting to invest like quarterly, right, buying something every quarter, how do you manage it? Because like I don't need another job, right? That's my biggest concern. I don't have time for another job. I don't have time to make sure that the dishwasher is freaking working on 123 Main Street, right? And I know you can hire it out, but in order to be able to write off, my understanding is in the first year, right, that you have to actually manage the investment yourself.
No, so let me clear it up for you. So you still get all the write-offs.
But I was talking about the depreciation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's talk about that real quick. So depreciation is on an amortization schedule of 27 and a half years. There's a thing called cost segregation. that you guys, as you build a considerable portfolio, or if you buy one asset, cost segregation is you speed up the depreciation schedule. So now you're able to take more of that depreciation, which obviously goes against your income, and that's how you shelter it. But yes, that whether you manage it or someone else manages it has nothing to do with your depreciation schedule. You still get those write-offs no matter what. And what I would tell you guys to do is you can invest yourself, and then, like you said, get someone to manage it. I think if you're going to buy a duplex or a triplex, fourplex, or a house, if I could do it all over again, especially any of the young professionals that are on here, if you're not married, man, use a conventional loan or FHA, put down 3.5 to 5%, buy a 1 to 4 single family property, move in it for 12 months, rent it out, do it again and again and again. And within the first 3 to 4 years, maybe 5, you'll have a $1 to $3 to $4 million portfolio within the first 3 or 4 years. I would do that over and over. But on this example, you buy the asset, you can get someone else to manage it, which you need to put that in your numbers, right? Am I paying 8% for management, 10%? Do I have lease up fees? You just need to do a little research, because you got to decide. I call it TBS. Where is my time best spent? Because the depreciation, the cost segregation, the cash flow, and phantom income. Phantom income means somebody's paying down my note and I'm not paying taxes on that. Like if that example earlier, I had a $70,000 debt, but my tenants paid it down to 40. That was $30,000 in income because I didn't pay it down, somebody else did, and I don't have to pay taxes on that 30,000 because it's called phantom income. So there's a lot of stuff that I know I'm trying to squeeze in a couple of minutes, but yeah, we'll talk about how I can help you guys in a sec. So this just talks about why net worth matters. It's the single most important financial metric that you can track, period. Not how many sales you got, not how many people are on your team, not how many deals you do a quarter, not how many push-ups you did last night. Like, this is what you need to be tracking. It's the most important thing you can keep up with, not your salary. It's more important than a person's salary, monthly budget. Why? It represents the sum of your entire financial life reduced to a few numbers. It shows you all of the assets you've accumulated over your lifetime. It shows you all of your current debts. The difference between the both and the two is your net worth. So last thing, this is my last slide. We'll go into Q&A. Realtors to real estate entrepreneurs. Guys, you gotta make that move into being a real estate entrepreneur. You need to be thinking about financial statements. You need to be thinking about net worth. You need to be thinking about investing. And these are just 7 ways that I've created for everybody in my org to have financial freedom and multiple income streams. So active income, I show them how to scale. I know how to teach people how to get their teams to 50, 60, 70, 80, $100 million teams. Referrals to EXP, sustainable equity. If y'all are at EXP and you're not signing up for that, you need to, 5%, especially if you left a franchise. Most people at franchises are paying 5 to 12% franchise fees anyway. So you can sign up for that equity program. Then growing a team where people can help you sell and leverage rev share, which is obvious. And then I have this thing called TN5 Equity Partners. I now let people in my org invest in my projects because I want them to have a seat at the table and they're able to watch me evaluate a $50 million apartment, and then they get to invest in my different projects. And so now I'm actually getting ready to open that up to all of the people at EXP where people can invest in my projects. I'm just doing it one step at a time, certified mentored and dividends from stock. So there's a lot of talking, but let's jump into Q&A. Here's a free tool that you can look up. It's just Real Estate Entrepreneur with Terrence Murphy. It's a podcast. It's on Apple. It's on Spotify. It's on YouTube. It's pretty much on all of them, on Audible, Spotify, Apple, everything. So just look it up. It's only 15 months old. We've already did 100,000 downloads, and it's really good information. We got about 70 episodes. Go check it out. And then obviously y'all can, I'm starting to post more on Instagram. I've been off social media, but just look me up, Terrence Realtor. If there's any other pages that message you, they're fake profiles. I'm not going to ever ask you for money. I'm not going to tell you to invest in Bitcoin. So just know that if it's not this one Instagram, it's not me. And yeah, so last thing, Terrence Murphy Coaching. This is where I'm breaking down what I'm talking about in the 3 paths. So I have 3 paths that I'm setting up for everybody. One is called the $1 billion real estate agent. I'm teaching you how to set your business up to do 50 to 100 million in sales a year. My best year was right at 200 million in sales. And so that's how I got to $1 billion in a short time period. So I have a whole path. There's 5 levels. I'm going to show you exactly how to set it up, how to do everything. I don't have the time to get into it now. It's a course, it's videos, and there's an AMA with me. So I meet every 2 weeks with everybody in that course. And then I'm getting ready to drop the next path, which is the $1 billion real estate investor. I'm going to teach you guys how to develop. I'm actually going to have where everybody flies in and we're going to look at neighborhoods and different developments that I've done. I'm going to show you how to buy a package of rental houses. I'm going to show you how to buy a $50 million apartment. So the $1 billion real estate investor will be that. And then my last path is the $1 billion real estate entrepreneur, where obviously I said earlier, I have 50 companies in my portfolio. I'm going to show you guys how to buy companies. Literally, title, mortgage, insurance. Think about it. On one real estate transaction, there's about 20 to 25 companies that make money on your deal. You worked hard. You created them as a seller. You did the negotiation and you only made the commission. You should be getting a portion of a lot of the other pieces to that pie: survey, title, insurance, mortgage, home warranty. I can go all day. So that's it. But let's get into Q&A.
Where do we start?
That's a lot.
I have so many questions. Can you stop sharing for a second so we can see you and everybody's faces as they're asking questions? But for me personally, we hear it all the time. Don't rent other people's places. You're pretty much paying their mortgage, right? But I have never heard it put in a way that you just put it with Monopoly. I think that was freaking genius. They finally clicked in my head. You can never win the game of Monopoly if you don't buy real estate. You will run out of money. Seriously?
Yeah.
Like these little things that will change your life. This just changed my life. Because this made me realize that there's not enough time of the day and not enough of me, then I could possibly run around like chicken head cut off, then I would ever become a billionaire unless I learn how to invest.
Yep. That's the key. That's what I'm trying to help everybody understand. It's truly it's the reason why I'm still in real estate. I mean, it's a game changer.
It blew my mind. So I do have one question regarding so I have a net sheet, like a net worth calculator, right? Because I shared this openly about a few years ago. I think it was about 4 years ago now. Dwayne and I, we made $420,000 income, and we were $89,000 in credit card debt. I was like, how the fuck, excuse my French, someone make $500,000 and have $100,000 in credit card debt and nothing to show for besides the home that we were living in, right? So I was like, something's wrong. Something needs to change. I clearly learned how to make money. I didn't learn what to do with it. And I joined a group at the time called M1, and they literally forced us. I had to sit there in my freaking spreadsheet and put everything, including Netflix, $8.99 or $7.99 or whatever Netflix was at the time, into a spreadsheet. And when it faces you, when you're staring at it and it's looking you in the face, that's when you realize that you don't have your shit together.
Yep.
Right. So if you don't have a net sheet calculator or a net worth calculator, I should say, I don't know, Terrence, do you have one that's a free one online and everybody could go and download? Do you have an example, or just Google it? Or why do you think it's important on a net worth calculator?
Yeah, I would Google one right now. I'm working on an asset because that's really important for my courses. I like to have the courses, and the other piece is an asset. So I have about 25 assets per level, and then the AMA. But yeah, so mine right now is I'm actually working on trademarking it, because I've literally because I kept having these banks. I had all these banks that I had loans with as I was building my portfolio, and every quarter and every month they kept asking me, can you fill out our financial statement and send it in? I was like, I'm spending my whole week filling out financial statements. So what I did is I found a young analyst and I said, hey, here's 7 different banks' financial statements. Build me one from scratch. And so I'm actually trademarking that right now, but that'll be on my course that I'll be giving everybody. I'll be giving y'all so much stuff on those assets for sure. But for now, I would just Google it.
Terrence, is there I have so many questions about other people's money and actually getting started with that and what that looks like and how I'd be involved in that on the sweat equity end. What are your top books out of the many that you've read that you suggest, since we don't have the time for you to dive into that right now?
Yes, ma'am. So I'll give you 3 books just to kind of whet your palate. You ready? The first one is Why the Rich Get Richer by Robert Kiyosaki. The next one is Who Took My Money by Robert Kiyosaki. And then the last one is Atomic Habits. And you're probably like, why isn't that about investing? Read that because that's going to be so important. Because like Gogo said earlier, it hurts to do it. But just remember, nothing great comes from doing normal activity. And I guess for me, like the reason I don't look at anything like that, because my whole life, like I've always wanted to be great at whatever it is. So like for me, it's not even about my net worth. I just want to be great now. Like I'm going to be a billionaire. It's going to happen. That's where I'm headed. So it's like, what do I need to do to be a billionaire and go in that direction? And that's what I'm studying. So just whatever it is for you that pushes you and gets you there. Like I want to be able to, when my kids graduate, like instead of paying for a wedding, right? I want to say, all right, I'm going to gift you you and your husband's, I'm going to gift you an investment property or your first home. Those are the kind of moves that we got to be thinking about and making, putting them on our shoulders versus starting them out as a deficit. So.
Awesome. Thank you.
And then, like I said, the podcast, I'm telling you, there's some free nuggets on there. Look up the podcast. You're going to be able to really, some of these topics, I'm slowing it down because I had 20 minutes, 30 minutes, but I'll check out the podcast too.
But thank you so much, Terrence. Are your courses ready to purchase or are you working on them now?
I sent the link to your assistant. So right now we're finishing up. Remember, it's 3 paths. The $1 billion real estate agent path is important because remember this, I'll say this and I'll stop coaching. In order to invest, you got to set aside the time. But if you're running behind every phone call and every open house, you'll never be able to invest. So that's why I have the thing called one brick mentality. We got to set your business up right first, right? And then now we get back your time. You're still making the income. You set the team up. So we got to get your sales business right first. We got to get it cash flowing. We got to get efficient. We got to get it right. Then we can pull that time aside and go invest. But yes, so $1 billion real estate agent is happening right now. I even did a bundle course from Build because I had a lot of people asking me, can you give me any coaching courses? So I just reduced it down and did a bundle for I have a class at like $99, one at $50 and one at $150 because I'm trying to bring it down and give you guys something. But yeah, the $1 billion real estate investor will be dropping probably Q1 of next year.
I can't wait. I'll be front and central.
Yep. Thank y'all so much, man.
Taking my notes.
Hit me up.
You're amazing. You just made my head spin.
I'll
be on your podcast. I'm going to get to the end of it. And then by the time I get to the end of your podcast, then you'll have your course ready and then I'll be front and central.
Let's go.
Thank you so much for your time. If I can return the favor, is there anybody who has pressing questions that you must ask Terrence right now?
I think there was a couple in there. I got
a few in there. One was, what do you think the best first investment property is? Commercial, a franchise, a flip, multifamily, single family. And what do you think you need financially to start navigating that path? I feel like that's a lot in one.
I can answer it. I get so many questions. So what I would say real quick and short is, what are you passionate about? Because I think if you're never put your money in something you're not interested in. I don't give a damn if somebody tell you you're going to make $1 billion tomorrow. If you're not interested in it, don't invest in it. So like for me, I just love homes. I love residential homes. I think we have about 600 homes now that my wife and I own. I love houses. And
600.
So I love homes. I love designing them. I love developing them. I love buying them. So cool, buy houses, right? I'm now doing multifamily. I'm doing commercial because for me in commercial, I started tracking what is a credit A-rated tenant. Well, when I first came up, I didn't know. So you start doing the research, start studying, and I realized, okay, these companies get rated. So it's like, all right, cool. Then Starbucks is a great tenant. Buffalo Wild Wings is a great tenant. Because then I started realizing if you get a normal strip center, let's just say in your town, and let's just say it's me, a local investor, and I got 2 locations. If COVID hits, I'm not going to be able to pay my rent. So I'm most likely going to have a vacant property. And then it's on you to figure out how to back lease it versus Starbucks is going to pay their rent. So just really understanding what you're passionate about and what you have a natural inclination to would be my answer to that one.
So then when you buy a plaza, how do you know Starbucks is going to be your tenant? Do you buy the plaza first and then you rent it out, or does the plaza comes with the tenant?
So what I ended up doing is I started studying Sunbelt states. One thing I've learned about my life is I don't like the cold. I was in Green Bay and I had never been in a blizzard until I got caught in one leaving the Lambeau Field. And I said, never again. As soon as I retire, I'm out of here. So I just invest in Sunbelt states. And then I started tracking new construction development projects, right? Just like we all have a specialty, like I sell farm and ranch and I sell $1 million houses. That's what I do as a realtor. So I started tracking these brokers that had certain properties, and they're called net leases. So triple net lease, double net lease, start tracking net lease properties. When you start tracking net lease properties, then that's when I was like, okay, so you mean to tell me I can buy this asset that's got 5 tenants or 3 tenants or 10, it doesn't matter. And like my Starbucks lease, they have a 10-year lease. And then they have 4 or 5-year renewals. That's a 30-year lease. Guys, that means I don't have to backfill it. I don't have to go do a make ready. So for us, we had been in student housing, where there's a lot of turnover every 12 to 24 months. It was just a slower pace. That's that velocity of time and money and TBS that I talk about. So I'm just building out a portfolio of diversity within my own balance sheet.
So then you pretty much go find the plaza that already has the leases signed. So you're just taking the tenants over.
I'm buying the building, and I like new construction because I want a new asset. Because most of the time on double net leases and triple net leases, you're on the hook for the parking lot, the structure, and the roof. Well, great. It's a TPO roof because I'm in construction. I build modern contemporary houses and neighborhoods and that kind of shit. So I'm like, well, if I get a TPO roof, I know I got a 25-year warranty on it. So it's a turnkey deal. Like I got a strip center in Asheville, North Carolina. I've only been there once. I flew in just to look at it, bought it. I haven't been back since. I collect rent on it every month.
My husband and I also own a home remodel business. Really successful, doing really well with that. We have flipped 2 homes. And we've kind of gotten out of investing for the past few years. We're itching, like dying, like we're just, I think, almost pushing too hard to try to get in this year. That we've made a goal to do that this year. But we are kind of in that like analysis paralysis stage right now. Okay. Yeah. And so do you have any advice on actually, sorry, I'm trying to keep my dog back. Do you have any advice on actually finding a potential investor to help with a commercial project? Because we also found a storage unit to purchase at seems like a very good price, a very good deal. And so, you know, we don't have the cash on hand to go buy a $1 million property, but you know, do you have any advice for something like that where we're just kind of ready to go? We're just looking for that next step to get going. Yes,
ma'am. I'll give you real quick. So one of the things you got to realize when you're dealing with high net worth people like myself, I'm busy. And so you got to make it so easy for me to see the value. That's where that sweat equity comes in, studying it, having the pro formas, having the approvals from the city, having a site plan done, all that stuff, like a turnkey package, so that when you send it to me, I look at it. All right, I'm gonna make 25% of my money. How long do you need it? Cool. Here you go. Right. Okay. So your goal is to go make it as turnkey as possible for the person you're going to present it to. And if you do that piece, then I always say a good investment, the money will always find it.
Okay. So that's a great advice. I love it. Create a package. I love it.
There you go.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, guys. God bless y'all all. Go. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, y'all look me up on Instagram if y'all need me. Check out the podcast. We just put the link in the courses. Like I said, I did a couple bundles for y'all that are really good price. And then just stay tuned for what we're dropping. Thank you. Go again.
Thank you, Terrence. You're the best.
All right. See y'all soon. See y'all later.
Bye.
See you. Bye.